Today's video is brought to you by Mrs. Six Spoonstaff Stories, episode 3. She animates it, I voice it, and despite my complete lack of talent, she managed to make them really good. Check it out, link in the description.
So you think we may have come from birds?
You certainly did, bird brain. I'm funny, me. See, that's why I get paid the big bucks. Well, medium bucks. Well, sometimes I might get to eat the leftovers that people put in the bottom of their cups instead of leaving it on a plate like a grown-up. Tonight we're having banana peel for tea, kids. Score!
It's possible. It's really possible from anything.
The first dog that came out, well, it came up as a reptile, whatever it was, from an amoeba that was under the water, that had gills and developed lungs and came up onto the land as a reptile. Was it male or female?
Right, so we're back again with Ray and Kirk's Super Happy Fun Time Moron Show. For people who don't know how, and more importantly don't want to know how, evolution works. Yay! Continuing on from last time, we were here with the non-experts Ray is trying to put forward as experts. For some unknown reason. And last time, I said that they don't really look like experts, and I was asked how I know. Well, isn't it obvious? There isn't a lab coat in sight. Only people in white jackets are ever experts in anything. How do I know that? Well, look at my lab coat. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about. This thing cost me £13. Not just anyone could buy that.
Probably unisex.
So when did it, and why did it change from asexual to bisexual, having male or female?
You dumb f***. I shouldn't be surprised that Ray doesn't understand the opposite of asexual isn't bisexual. A in context like this just means without, like apolitical or a brain, in reference to Ray's lack of braining. But whatever doesn't really matter, well it does, knowing what words mean and saying those words in a way that makes sense is quite important when making an argument. Especially when you're trying to debunk established science. But whatever. Unless of course he's trying to tell us that he is bisexual when, cool, I'm glad you're comfortable enough with yourself to come out, Ray. Well done.
Probably when it, maybe from hydras or maybe some form of, meiosis, like between a male and a female.
Right, well he's still doing the pointing out when people say maybe etc thing, and it's still as pointlessly dishonest as it ever was. They don't know. They are allowed not to know. You were the one who asked, and they are trying to answer your questions as honestly as possible, while you try to dishonestly smear them. And I really don't understand how your viewers fall for it. Have none of them ever said probably while they're talking about something that they're not 100% sure on? You might think that they would find it super insulting if then some dipshit came along and made a TV show trying his best to make them look like an idiot.
So the first reptile that was under the sea as an amoeba, for millions of years, developed lungs under the water, put up on the land, was unisex.
Probably.
Oh hey, that's actually way closer to biological definition of bisexual's opposite. Huzzah! Well, I'm assuming he means a single-sex creature and not like a walking leotard. But anyway, one can never be too sure with Ray the amazing dumbass. But whatever. The first land creature, whatever it was, may have been one, may have been t'other, whatever. Doesn't really matter, because we have examples of all of these kinds of creatures. And whether or not any of these people know that is irrelevant to what the evidence we have found in that regard says. So I have to wonder, what's your point, Ray?
Probably.
Probably. I can't say for sure.
Was it a male or female that came out of the change?
It would be both, maybe a hermaphroditic.
So do you think we could have evolved from horses?
Sure.
Oh, Ray, again with the dishonest questions in an attempt to get an answer that makes your point, but that only works with your completely ignorant audience. His answer to your question is fair. Could human beings have evolved from horses? Well, they share many traits. They are mammals. They give birth to 1 or 2 offspring per pregnancy, although multiple births are undesirable in horses. Given enough time and forcing, a human-like creature could evolve from a horse. Technically, but did humans evolve from horses? Or at least horse ancestors? Definitely not. We have multiple lines of evidence that humans have an ape-like ancestor. Ancestors that are shared with modern apes. Did you ask that? No, of course not. Because it's harder to twist into, isn't that a silly answer?
This animal that came out without lungs and breathed and went back in, was he male or female?
I don't know. He could, yeah. He could have been a hermaphrodite.
He was male and female?
Yeah, probably.
And he was alone?
I don't know. Could have been.
So he could have been alone?
Could have been alone.
So how did he reproduce?
Oh God, this is going on forever. And we get your point, Ray. You have no idea how biology or evolution works. We get it. You're an idiot. You don't need to harp on about the fact that you have a brain the size of a malnourished gnat's tan banana. I guess it probably wouldn't be tan, actually. But you get my point. You are the dumb. Thanks for letting us know.
I don't know. Asexually.
He split in two?
He could have.
Yeah. And this is the evidence that this teacher gave you?
Let me guess. It's going to be, no it's not. I don't do biology professionally, so it didn't really stick in my brain. I hope you aren't going to portray me as some kind of expert, Ray, or portray me as someone who claims to have anything other than a very cursory knowledge on the subject, Ray. That would be extremely dishonest, wouldn't it, Ray?
His was a lot more in depth, but I don't remember it all. Sorry.
Unbelievable. No, I'm not kidding. Unbelievable that you left that in. She just said, I don't know what I'm talking about, and from their attitude they clearly think that this is just a fun, light-hearted conversation with no, frankly, kinda diabolical ulterior motives on your part. And had you told them what you were planning to do, I assume they would have told you to do one.
Well, I really have no idea. I'm not an expert on that subject.
But then you gotta know that I'm not authoritative.
You're not an authority on evolution?
I'm a personal person, you know what I mean? Like, with no major degree or anything.
As if any of that is the fault with these people or the real evidence for evolution. As if it's not a huge fault with your decision to talk to random laymen and not a single expert of any kind. I have to wonder if you know you're being so dishonest, or if you are so goddamn silly that you think that this is a reasonable way to inquire about evolution. Note, it's not. Not even close.
Do you think God had anything to do with this?
Big sigh, no. Also, look at the first frame of this clip. It looks like Ray is about to force feed the poor guy his microphone, and I just thought that was funny. Here comes the airplane. Nyan. Get it? Because they're on an airplane. It's funny. Laugh, you sheep.
That's an area I have never explored, but it's hard not to believe that sometimes.
What has that got to do with the fact of evolution? It's hard for him not to believe that God might have done it. I noticed that you didn't ask anyone else that question, or at least you haven't shown your totally not cherry-picked responses, TM, of them answering, so I have to assume that most of them said no. Like, what does this prove? That one person, probably out of way more than shown, doesn't know if they believe in God. Whoop-dee-doo. Next, you're going to show one person that isn't sure when the Chinese New Year is, and that's proof that the country isn't real.
Okay, here's a simple lesson on evolution.
And as we all know, if you have a simple explanation for something, then you have all the proof and evidence of that thing contained within, because that's what simple means. And using that simple explanation, you can debunk the whole lot, because that's how reality works, right?
The theory of evolution basically teaches that every living creature, like you and me, evolved from a single cell billions of years ago. So that means that every animal supposedly transformed into another kind of animal over time.
That's an adequate explanation. To be fair, it's actually a lot better than I expected you to do, in fact. Now, let's find out how they f*** it up, shall we?
Now, the big problem evolutionists have is that they're finding a huge gap in the fossil record.
There it is. So, where's this big gap? Is it just one big gap? Because the thing is, so what? Gaps in the fossil record don't disprove anything. I mean, the fact that we can see where they go kind of proves something, doesn't it?
Who's that Pokemon? It's
Optimus Prime.
And put simply, if you think, well, we have all this long line of unbroken transitional fossils, but we haven't found one that connects these two directly, therefore evolution is bunk. Like seriously, that's silly as all the heckings. That's like saying, we have proof of all these murders. Like, say, Ed Gein, who made furniture out of people's skin. Sounds like a charmer, I know. But because he had one normal lamp, well, he must not have killed anyone. That's how stupid your argument is.
In other words, when archaeologists dig up the bones of these dead animals, they don't find these transitional forms that helped one animal transform into another animal.
Oh wait, you meant any? No, that's complete horseshit. That's not remotely true. And the fact that you're saying it means you either know literally nothing about evolutionary science, or you're just a goddamn liar. In either case, you should not be speaking on the subject when you are talking absolute gibberish. There are a load of them, tons of them. The very notion that there aren't any is completely ludicrous. And I can only assume you are saying there aren't because it's the only way you can think of to cast doubt on evolution. But it's simply not true.
And if you don't have those bones, you can't prove evolution ever happened.
Well, it's a bloody good job we have them then, isn't it, you great big smelly willy?
That's what they're calling the missing link. And there's not just one, there would have to be thousands and thousands of those transitional forms.
Says you, the idiot liar. And there are. More than enough to see the patterns, and they are found exactly where we would expect to find them in the fossil record. Almost as if evolution is a real thing and has been thoroughly studied and proven correct or something. I know that this show is a little bit old, but even in the 2000s when it was made, this stuff was effectively irrefutable with the sheer amount of evidence to back it up. And I'm not saying unfalsifiable, mind. More like the old beyond a reasonable doubt. Like previously mentioned Mr. Gein was sat there making a throw pillow out of the court's bailiff.
The truth is, they're not missing at all. They never existed in the first place.
No, that would be the lie. And even with transitional fossils, just because we haven't found some specific ones doesn't mean that they don't exist and doesn't mean that they won't be found.
Pshaw! Things don't exist simply because you believe in them. Thus saith the almighty creature in the sky!
Now, maybe you're asking, what about the proof? I mean, what about those science teachers that showed us those drawings of apes all hunched over and then eventually straightening themselves up and becoming very man-like?
Let me guess, it's all made up for no reason. You know that evolution works, right? What I mean is, when we make predictions about where we might find, say, a particular type of creature or how certain crop modifications will affect local critters, using sciences about or related to evolution, well, they often turn out correct because these aren't wild guesses. They use science. If they were guesses, they would be wrong all the goddamn time.
Well, remember, those are just drawings. That's not proof. The real proof is in what we can find in the fossil record, the bones that we dig up, and that's what's missing, the actual proof.
I don't know how many times I need to say it, but that's simply not true. And no one thinks that evolution is true because diagrams. That would be completely asinine. But even this partial list is massive and full of examples of transitional fellas. Enough to show that there are creatures that by your definition appear to change in a steady fashion over time for no reason. Well, I personally have a good explanation for it. Just off the top of my head, they evolved, you dundering fool.
In reality, this is what scientists actually have. Me and the monkey. Apes and humans.
Nope, you are definitely lying. I can't believe for a split second that you didn't have a quick check and didn't find the stacks and stacks of proof. The only thing I can imagine is that you looked at all that proof and thought to yourself, I can't read, and then ignored it. That's the best benefit of the doubt I can give you. It's that, or you're a dishonest piece of crap. But thankfully for you two, it's not like we spent the first half of this video proving that that's exactly what you two are. Wait, before you go, I have something super important to tell you. It's life or death. It will change everything forever. Nope, wait, it's gone. Oh well, probably wasn't important. But while I have you, don't forget to comment, subscribe and notify. And if you want more of my smexy voice, check out Mrs. Six's channel Spoonstaff Stories, where I narrate and voice all the videos, and she does the work. And if you want to support the channel, check out the merch store for cool t-shirts, or check out Patreon, memberships and PayPal to support directly. Finally, follow me on the medias of social to get completely pointless guff and to keep up on the latest releases. Oh, I just remembered what I was going to tell you. Whatever you do, don't touch the